Okay.
We are a small world.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Thank you all for coming this evening. We are, of course, studying the life of Holy Mother, and we are at the point in the book where the discussion is about the establishment of the Bellarmine campus, the Bellarmine headquarters of the Ramakrishna Math mission. So I'll pick it up here. The local Orthodox Hindu people of Belur and neighboring Bali were not as pleased. They began to gossip that Swami Vivekananda had established Belur Math, according to a Western method, and they complained that traditional Hindu customs and dietary restrictions were not being observed there. Swamiji did not pay any attention to the criticism, nor did he allow others to protest. He only remarked, "It is a natural law. It is a natural law that when a new idea enters society, the old Orthodox group goes against it. All pioneers of the world religions had to pass through this test. Without persecution, no great ideas can penetrate society. Work without any motive. One day you will reap the result." A few days before Durga Puja in 1901, Swamiji was coming from Calcutta to Belur Math by boat when he had a vision of a luminous form of the Mother Durga in the Math. He had a vision of a luminous form of Mother Durga in the Math. When the boat landed, he told Brahmananda about his vision and asked him to arrange the worship with an image. Brahmananda told Swamiji of a similar vision. It was seated on this bench watching the Gandhi, It was seated. I was seated on this bench watching the Ganges, Brahmananda said. I saw Mother Durga come from Dakshineshwar over the Ganges and reach that bell tree. Swamiji was excited. Fortunately, an image was available, and it was brought to Belur Math on 17 October 1901. On 18 October, Holy Mother and her attendants came to attend Durga Puja and stayed at Nilambar's house, Nilambar Babu's garden house. Brahmachari Krishnalal was the worshipper, and Ishwar Chandra Chakrabarti was the prompter of the mantras, the Tantra Dharak. According to Swamiji's direction, the worship was performed in the name of Holy Mother. who offered 25 rupees to Ishwar Chakrabarti as darshana, a gift for performing the worship. Swamiji also invited Brahmin Pandits from neighboring Belur, Bali, and Uttapara to attend the worship. They came and partook of the prasad and cleared up their misunderstandings about Belur Mat. So it was the mother herself. There were these rumors and gossip and all this going on. It was mother herself who prompted her worship there. And in doing so, as it says here, these local people, they came, partook of the prasad, and cleared up their misunderstandings about Belur Mat. So the mother is ever looking over us as a mother and father, sustaining and nourishing us as a mother and father. On 21 October, after the Vesper service, Swamiji sang some devotional songs that the master used to sing, thus entertaining Holy Mother, and others gathered there. When the immersion ceremony was held on 22 October, Swami Brahmananda danced on the boat in ecstasy. Holy Mother and her party returned to her Calcutta residence on 23 October. So she was there for 5 days, from 18 October to 23 October. She was there for 5 days. She graced the place with her presence for the first formal worship of the Mother, which still goes on there, of course, as well as the Kali worship. And all the Titi pujas, of course, all of them. 10 years later, in April 1911, when Holy Mother returned from her South India pilgrimage, Swami Brahmananda wanted to give her a grand reception at Belur Mat. The long pilgrimage and rest in Orissa had restored Holy Mother's health. For her arrival, the entrance of Belur Mat was decorated with banana trees. Mangal ghats, auspicious pitchers, filled with water and mango leaves, were placed at the gate. Hundreds of devotees and monks stood in 2 rows to receive the Mother. Now, that seems so tiny to us now, because now, when something is held at Belur Mat, there are thousands of people. But in those days, just after the Mat was founded, the fact that there were hundreds of people there, hundreds of devotees and monks stood in 2 rows to receive the Mother. Brahmananda ordered that no one should break the line and rush to take the dust of her feet. As soon as the Mother's carriage reached the gate, 9 firecrackers exploded loudly. It seems strange to us, I suppose, but I guess that was an appropriate salutation. As soon as the Mother's carriage reached the gate, 9 firecrackers exploded loudly. Holy Mother got down from the carriage as she walked slowly between the rows of devotees. They chanted with folded hands, "O auspicious one, thou art the source of all auspiciousness. Thou art the accomplisher of all cherished desires. Thou art the giver of refuge. Thou possessest the eye of wisdom and beautiful form, O Narayani. Salutations to thee." And of course, that's a quotation from the Devi Mahatmya. Those are lines from the Devi Mahatmya. Suddenly, Subodhananda came running from behind the from behind the line, took the dust of the mother's feet, and quickly disappeared into the crowd. Amused, Brahmananda cried out, "Who's he? Who is he? Catch him!" Everyone laughed at Subodhananda's childlike nature. Subodhananda, of course, Subodhananda was Latu Maharaj. Her face fully covered with a veil. Holy Mother sat on a chair in a room on the second floor of the Mat building as the monks and devotees bowed down to her. A special worship service and feast were arranged. The men devotees sat on a carpet in the courtyard, and Brahmananda asked a kirtan party to sing devotional songs. Brahmananda smoked his hubble bubble. Does everybody know what a hubble bubble is? It's the pipe with a long tube that comes up and so on. It's Brahmananda smoked his hubble bubble while listening to the songs. Suddenly he lost outer consciousness and the pipe fell from his hand. He was in samadhi for a long time. When news reached the mother, she asked her attendant to repeat a mantra in the Swami's ear. It worked like a miracle. The Swami regained normal consciousness and encouraged the singers, saying, continue to sing, as if nothing had happened. A plate of prasad was placed before the mother. She took a little, and the remainder was distributed among the devotees by Girish Ghosh and Sharad Chakrabarti. Now, just hold that thought in your mind for a moment. A plate of prasad was placed in front of the mother. She took a little, and then the rest was distributed among the devotees by Girish Ghosh and Sharad Chakrabarti. We may have, it's unfortunate, of course, that we can't gather together. We were not able to gather together on January 3rd this year for the Mother's Puja. But in all likelihood, we will be able to next year. And we can have this feeling when the prasad from Mother's Puja is distributed, that she has taken a little and the rest is being given to us. After lunch, Holy Mother took a short rest and then left for Udbodhan that afternoon. In her honor, 9 firecrackers were set off during her departure, and thus the festival ended. So 9 firecrackers, 9 of course is the magic number. It's the special number. You know, when there are 1,008 names of Shiva or Vishnu, and those add, of course, that adds to 9. One is to repeat one's mantra 108 times at least. That adds to 9. This is a very auspicious number. In October 1912, Swami Premananda arranged Durga Puja in Belur Math and invited Holy Mother to attend. On 16 October, the day of Bodhan, the awakening ceremony before Durga Puja, Premananda was running around supervising the arrangements. In late afternoon, when he saw that the auspicious pictures, the Mangal Ghats, and the banana trees were not yet set at the gate, the Swami told the monks, "You have not yet completed the mother's reception, so she has not arrived yet." Just after the awakening ceremony, the mother arrived in a carriage along with Golap Ma, Radu, and some other companions. The horses were unharnessed at the gate to allow Premananda and other monks and devotees to pull the carriage up to the courtyard. Isn't that a sweet thought? So the carriage was brought to the out just outside the gate. The horses were unharnessed, and the Premananda and other monks and devotees then pulled the carriage up into the courtyard with great joy and excitement. On the way, they shouted, Jai Guru Maharaj, Jai Ma. Victory to Guru Maharaj, victory to the Divine Mother. Golap Ma cautiously held the mother's hand and helped her out of the carriage. Observing the reception and decorations, the mother remarked with a smile, "See, everything is clean and neat. We too have come here dressed like Mother Durga." The little house at Sonar Bagan, now the Leggett House. Oh yes, this is where Betty Leggett and Josephine MacLeod stayed, and Sister Nivedita. The little house at Sonar Bagan, now the Leggett House, on the north side of the monastery, was prepared for the mother's stay. Holy Mother and Radu stayed in the southernmost room, and Yoginma, Golapma, Lakshmi, and Aunt Banu stayed in the other rooms. On the day of Ashtami Puja, 18 October 1912, Holy Mother sat on her cot facing west, and 300 devotees bowed down to her one after another as she blessed them. Again, 300 sounds so small to us now, but at the time it was quite remarkable that all of these people came. 300 devotees bowed down to her one after another as she blessed them. On that day, she initiated 3 or 4 people. That night, from the second floor veranda of the Mat building, she watched Girish's play Jana, based on a story from the Mahabharata. At noon on the day of the Navami Puja, Golap Ma said to Swami Saradananda, "The mother is highly pleased with your loving care and sends you all her blessings." "Is that so?" replied the Swami in a serious voice, and said to Premananda, "Brother, did you hear that?" The two Swamis embraced each other joyously. Now, I'm just going to pause a moment about these two. Brahmananda was the president of the order, no doubt. And he was very instrumental in the expansion of the work, going various places and helping establish the work there, as he did in Varanasi and in Chennai and so on. But it was Saradananda serving as general secretary and Premananda serving as the manager that made the Mat and mission actually work. Premananda was the manager on site at Belur, and Sharadananda, of course, stayed at Udbodhan, not only so that he could be a bit apart and have time away from being constantly interrupted, but also so that he could take care of the mother. But these two were such sweet brothers. So they just worked so well together. And so when we hear this story of the mother giving her blessings this way to Sharadananda, and him saying to Premananda about, "Oh, did you hear?" and then embracing joyously. These were such simple-hearted, sweet, wonderful people. Okay. After the Dashami Puja, the image of Durga was taken in a boat to be immersed in the Ganges. Dr. Kanjilal danced, gesticulated, and made faces at the image like a child, evoking roars of laughter. However, a brahmachari protested this behavior. The mother and her companions were watching the immersion ceremony from their cottage when a monk drew the mother's attention to the brahmachari's objection. She replied, "No, no, this is fine and proper. The goddess should be entertained with song and music, fun and frolic." Not only that, but what did Sri Ramakrishna say? If you're going to be mad for God. Oh, so Dr. Kanjilal, you can imagine he was just in a kind of ecstatic state. And notice the mother. No, this is fine and proper. The goddess should be entertained with song and music, fun and frolic. This business, Swami Prabhavananda used to say in Hollywood, people would get all serious and pious and somber, and he would say, "Oh, we will have no long-faced religion here." And then he would cut some joke, or, he would, there's lots of cause in the world for somberness and sobriety and the love of God and the love of the goddess is not a cause for somberness. It's a cause for joy, fun and frolic. At night, there was another musical performance. Oh, someone read that for me, please.
Rameshwamed Edna.
Thank you. The Horse Sacrifice by Ramachandra, based on a story in the Ramayana by Abhibhushan Bhattacharya. Is that right? So this wasn't Girish Ghosh's work. It was a story based in the Ramayana, The Horse Sacrifice by Ramachandra. And this, just for you who don't know, it was to prove the virtue and purity of Sita, who had, of course, been captured by Ravana, the demon king of Lanka. And when she was returned rescued by Rama and Hanuman and the others, the populace, there were rumors in the populace in Ayodhya, Ramachandra's kingdom, that somehow Ravana had defiled Sita. And so this horse sacrifice was a traditional and very serious way of proving that Sita remained pure. And so we'll see what the mother has to say about it. The Horse Sacrifice by Ramachandra, based on a story in the Ramayana by Abhibhushan Bhattacharya. The mother and her companions watched it. The next day, 22 October 1912, Holy Mother returned to her Calcutta residence. Oh, unfortunately, it doesn't say anything about what she said about it. Often she would say things like, well, it was just like I remember. During Durga Puja in 1916, Holy Mother came again, 4 years later now. During Durga Puja in 1916, Holy Mother came again to Belramat and stayed in the same cottage at Sonarbagan. She arrived on 3 October. Just a little about this cottage. Before Belramat was actually established, the land had been purchased, but the buildings had not been. 3 ladies stayed. Josephine MacLeod, Tontine, of course, was one of the people who helped fund the building of Belramat. as was Betty Leggett. Betty Leggett was the wife of Frank Leggett, Swamiji's dear friend, and a very wealthy man in New York. And so Nivedita was Swamiji's disciple and, in a sense, his spiritual companion. She didn't have any money, but these three ladies stayed in that cottage before Belramat was built. So it was, and Swamiji often visited there when to give training to Sister Nivedita. So during Durga Puja in 1916, Holy Mother came again to Belramat and stayed in the same cottage at Sonar Bagan. She arrived on 3 October for the Saptami Puja and stayed until 6 October. After attending the first day of the worship, news came that Radu was sick. Swami Dhirananda gave this news to Premananda and asked him to request Holy Mother. And Swami Dhirananda gave this news to Premananda and asked him to request Holy Mother to stay till the last day of the puja, of the worship. Now, the reason that Dhirananda would pass this information on and ask Premananda to make the request was that Premananda was very close to Holy Mother. And of course, Dhirananda was not one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. Premananda replied, "My goodness, who is going to stop the Divine Mother? Whatever she wishes, that will happen. We are helpless to do anything against her will." However, Radu soon felt better, and the mother decided not to return to Calcutta. On the day of the Ashtami Puja, the mother attended the worship in the pandal, big tent. On her way, she saw the monks and brahmacharis preparing vegetables to feed people. She said with a smile, "The children know how to cut vegetables very well. Do you know why? Brahmananda taught them." Brahmananda was himself, and he taught them not to waste anything. And he said, "I can tell the quality of someone's devotion by how well they peel a potato." So Holy Mother said with a smile, "The children know how to cut vegetables very well." The mother's disciple, Swami Jagadananda, is that right? Jagadananda, replied, "Our aim is to please the Divine Mother of the universe, whether through spiritual practices or cutting vegetables or turning spices into paste." The mother replied with a smile, "You are right, my son." So here again we have Chaitanananda including something that is meant for our instruction. So I'll just repeat that. The mother said the children know how to cut vegetables very well. The mother's disciple, Swami Jagadananda, replied, "Our aim is to please the Divine Mother of the universe, whether through spiritual practices or cutting vegetables or turning spices into paste." In other words, anything you do done in the proper spirit, which is described very nicely in chapters 3 and 4 of the Gita, what that proper spirit is, then it is that activity is sanctified. Spiritual practices, cutting vegetables, turning spices into paste. In other words, grinding a piece of spice and making a paste of it, ginger paste or something. So, and Mother replied with a smile, "You're right, my son." On that day, many people bowed down to the mother, touching her feet. She later washed her feet with Ganges water several times. Yoginma noticed this and asked, "What are you doing, mother?" you'll get a cold. The mother replied, what shall I say? Yogin, I feel a soothing sensation when one person touches my feet, but another person's touch produces a burning sensation all over my body. It is hard for me to get any relief without washing my feet. But you'll notice that the mother, and this again is meant for us, she didn't pull her feet away. She would have been able to sense, as a person approached her, the quality of that person's character. And so that's why a person with a certain kind of character, their touch would be soothing. Another person's character being more rajasic, perhaps even somewhat tamasic, would produce this burning sensation. But she didn't pull her feet back. She didn't keep them from taking the dust of her feet. We are her own, all of us. And so we must never think, oh, I am not worthy. That's probably a good place to stop. It's just about the half hour. Are there any comments or questions about what's been read or said so far? Anything at all?
Yes, Brother Shankara, I have one small question.
Yes, Sham.
Who bought the land at Belur Mutt and when?
When? Swamiji returned in 1897. I believe it was purchased in 1897. It was Swamiji who purchased the land in the name of the trust that had been established, the Ramakrishna Math. Later, they brought the mission into the picture as well. But Swami Vivekananda bought the land with the money provided to him primarily by Western devotees, and most of these Western devotees were women who gave him money to purchase the land. I'm reasonably certain it was 1897. If anyone knows differently, please correct me. But I think it was 1897, and it was Swamiji. And then we know the story that this great tragedy happened, and famine and illness and so on. And he was ready to turn around and sell the property again and take the money and use it to be of service to the people who were being so affected by this terrible calamity that it was happening. But fortunately, the matter was brought to Holy Mother, and Mother said, no, my children need a place to live. She said to Swamiji, you and Brahmananda and others, you could live under a tree, which is what Vivekananda said, we don't need all this. She said, yes, but my children, by that she meant all of the second generation, the disciples of the direct disciples. She said they couldn't endure that life. So,
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? Okay.
Brother Shankara, namaste, everybody.
Yes, Shailesh.
I would like to share a thought, about, it's when I hear about the way mother was treated, her reception and everything. In India, there are several saints who have been who have manifested and who are married. They had their wives, and their wives were elevated souls also. It's not an ordinary thing to marry someone who is a realized soul or who practices and establishes some kind of a movement. And I've not seen and not read someone being treated so special, a guru's wife, like mother was. And what I think is that obviously she was not just an elevated soul, she was Divine Mother herself. And the direct disciples, by grace of Thakur, I mean, they were all elevated souls, obviously they were extraordinary. They could see actually that she was Divine Mother. And so they expressed it through the action. And it is very, very extraordinary because it has to be, I have seen my father's guru was a realized soul. Then there was someone else I know who was married and who was realized. And there are several people even today, but their wives are not that especially treated the way mother was treated. I mean, it is extraordinary that so many people standing on the both sides when she arrived, and then the firecrackers were set, and then Khoka Maharaj, Swami Subodhananda ran and, took dust off her feet, and then they offered food and they took the prasad and all this. It is extraordinary. This is something which I feel is very, very special about the Ramakrishna order, is because all these people had a network, like you said, the Premananda Maharaj or Swami Saradananda, Brahmanandaji, they all worked together so much and they created a network and they set this power down, and that's why I always feel Ramakrishna order, I have so much respect, and why it is so special. Like the other day, Swami Chetanandaji was talking when he spoke about elevated souls. He was about reminiscences last week. He said, "There is one Swamiji, one saint, and after that there is fight. There is no one, And here we have so many people who were well connected, very well respected. They had love for each other. So it's very special to be part of this whole tradition, and the way it will grow, I'm very sure that it's bound to grow."
Shailesh, thank you for all of that. That's all so right to the point. And we can recall also that both the master and the mother said, we are not two beings. We are one being appearing in two forms. They were Ishwar. Ishwara, Ishwari. As you said, she wasn't just Guru's wife. She was Divine Mother of the universe. And these direct disciples, by the gift of their own elevation, but also by the gift of Thakur's blessings of them, what he gave them, they could see who Mother was. Thank you for that, Shailesh. Very well observed.
Thank you.
Anyone else? This is wonderful. This is how we learn together. All right, then. We'll go on with the reading. So Mother said, it's hard for me to get any relief without washing my feet. After the Sandhi Puja, a special worship between the Ashtami and Navami Pujas, Saradananda gave a gold coin to a brahmachari and asked him to offer it at the mother's feet. The brahmachari brought that what? Oh, the brahmachari thought that the offering was meant for Mother Durga, so he asked about it. The Swami replied, you will find the mother in the house of the garden next door. It is she who has received our worship through the image of Durga, which is exactly what Shailesh was pointing to. It's the mother of the universe, and she took human form to accomplish this mission that the two of them had together. And as Thakur said, you have the hardest part. You'll have to stay behind for years. And we talked earlier about the fact that he had just a few disciples. And the reason that he had just a few disciples is he selected them very carefully, because each of them had a role in bringing to reality the mission that he came to this world for. Mother's disciples were not given, usually, the ones who became monks, yes, and some few others among the householders, but by and large, mother's disciples were not given responsibility for making something happen. They were given liberation. In a letter dated 9 October 1916, Swami Shivananda described Durga Puja at Bellarmont. The presence of Holy Mother made the worship come alive. Though it rained constantly during the 3 days of the worship, everything went off smoothly through her grace. The rain stopped whenever the devotees sat for their meals. Isn't that remarkable? Isn't that? I mean, Shivananda wouldn't note that if it weren't quite remarkable. Rain constantly during the 3 days of the worship. Even so, everything went off smoothly through her grace. The rain stopped whenever the devotees sat for their meals. We were all surprised. We learnt later from Yoganma that just at the time of meals, Holy Mother prayed, "O Mother, how will the devotees eat their meals in this rain? The leaf plates will be washed away. O Mother, please save the situation." So Yoganma actually heard Mother creating these breaks in the rain. Really, her prayers were answered on all the 3 days. Holy Mother's disciple, Swami Girijananda, recalled, the mother, Golapma, Radhu, and her other women devotees were staying at the Sonar Bagan house. I had a desire to worship the mother's feet all 3 days of Durga Puja with flowers and bell leaves. After bathing, I would go to the mother's room and offer flowers at her feet. One morning, the mother came to bow down to Mother Durga in the pandal. She was seated on the upper southern veranda of the shrine building, and Golapma was with her. As I was offering flowers and bell leaves at the mother's feet, Golapma said in a loud Golapma said in a loud voice, "Don't put bell leaves at the mother's feet." I said, "The master worshipped the mother with flowers and bell leaves, so why shouldn't I?" Notice the sincerity and courage of these people. The Swami, he wasn't being contentious. He just had a point. The master did this, why shouldn't I? The mother smiled. I joyfully worshiped the mother. In other words, Golapma was a little out of line. The mother didn't correct her, but she just smiled, her gracious smile, because this Swami had the courage to ask the question. Holy Mother's disciple Brahmachari Haripada, later Swami Prabhavananda, no, that can't be. Pranavananda, I'm sorry. Holy Mother's disciple Brahmachari Haripada, later Swami Pranavananda, was the worshipper for Durga Puja in 1916. He reminisced, on the morning of the Saptami Puja, the mother's carriage entered the monastery. Yogan Ma, Golap Ma, Sudhira, and others were with her. The entrance gate and worship pandal were well decorated with flowers and leaves. Swami Premananda welcomed the mother, and the sound of the conch, bell, drum, and flute were reverberated throughout the monastery, along with the shouts, "Victory to the mother, Jai Ma." When mother arrived near the steps of the shrine, Swami Atmananda waved a lamp with 5 wicks in front of her, and Premananda waved a fan. The mother went upstairs to the shrine and then came down after a short while. She entered the puja pandal and sat on a carpet reserved for her. I offered flowers at her feet 3 times, and she blessed me, touching my head. When the Saptami Puja was over, the mother asked me to repeat the flower offering mantra for her and her women companions. I distinctly remember she uttered this verse of the Chandi in her melodious voice. O Jayanti, can someone say that, the Sanskrit, please?
Sure. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadra Kali Kapalini Durga Shiva Shama Datri Swaha Swada Namostatu.
O Goddess, you are always victorious, all auspicious, the destroyer of evil, the embodiment of gentleness, and adorned with skulls, letters of the alphabet. Adorned with skulls, letters of the alphabet. Is that right? Am I reading that right? Skulls? Huh.
Yeah, it says skulls.
Okay, letters of the alphabet. O Mother Durga, you are the consort of Shiva, all forgiving, the supporter of the universe, and the nourisher of gods and human beings. We bow down to you. 1 year during Durga Puja, the mother went to Belur Math, but stayed at Nilambar Mukherjee's garden house. On Mahaashtami Day, the devotees went to pay their respects to the mother. Holy Mother was seated on a wooden stool. Golap Ma stood near her and was fanning her. There was a long line of devotees entering through one door and going out through the other. I've been in that room where that took place. It still has quite a feeling. Swami Saradananda was seated near the entrance. A devotee offered flowers at the mother's feet and began to recite hymns to her. After a long while, Golap Ma said to him, "Hello, please get up. Enough. How many devotees are waiting in line? Don't you realize that the mother is suffering from the heat in this crowd? Why are you taking so long?" When he heard Golap Ma, Saradananda remarked, "Golap Ma, he has many wishes. Will you not allow him to submit the list of his desires?" And then there's again a bit of Sanskrit. Can someone say it in?
Do you want me to read this?
Yes, please.
Rupam Dehi, Jayam Dehi, Bharyam Manoraman Dehi.
Mother, give me beauty, give me victory, give me a beautiful bride after my own heart. Please don't pressure him to hurry. All the devotees burst into laughter. The mother also smiled a little. Without saying another word, that devotee hurriedly left the place. But clearly his heart had been seen, and his I'm sure he felt that his wishes would be granted. The Master's disciples did not look upon Holy Mother as their Guru's wife. By the Master's grace, they knew that she was the Divine Mother in human form. One year during Durga Puja in Belur Brahmananda worshipped the Mother with 108 lotuses. During the Master's birthday celebration one year, Holy Mother came to Belur Brahmananda and the devotees received her shouting, "Victory to the Mother." The Mother first went to the shrine and then came down to the courtyard and stood on her asana, her seat, a special seat. So Mother first went to the shrine and then came down to the courtyard and stood on her asana facing south. Brahmananda waved a lamp with 5 wicks in front of her and asked all of the assembled monks and devotees to kneel down before the Mother and chant the salutation mantra, Sarva Mangala Mangalye, of the Divine Mother. The Swami was on his knees, facing the east, and tears trickled from his eyes. Now, I think you've heard this said before, but I'll just repeat it because Brahmananda and the Mother's relationship was very special. She regarded him as her special son among all of the disciples, direct disciples of the Master and others. And one time, when she was living at Udbodhan, one of the women disciples, I don't think it was Yoganmar Golapma, but one of the women who was serving her said to her, "Mother, all the boys, that is to say, all the direct disciples, come to see you, come to visit you, but Rakal never comes. What is the matter?" And Mother just smiled, and the description in the book, which I believe is in Gambhirananda's story about the Mother. It may yet appear in this book also. But Mother said this simply. She said, "Oh Rakal, whenever I wish to see him, he appears before me." So, one can think, well, was that in physical form? Was that in subtle form? We can't know. But you can believe that that special relationship was there. And they're still living together, so to speak, Thakur Maan and Rakal. If you want to know what I mean by that, go to American Vedantist number 76, I believe, and you will find there's a poem in that published in American Vedantist 76. The title of the poem is Ma and Pa in Georgia. Ma and Pa in Georgia. Swami Brahmananda was on his knees, facing the east, and tears trickled from his eyes. Whenever the Mother attended Durga Puja or the Master's birthday at Belur Math, the joy of the monks and devotees knew no bounds. In 1911, Holy Mother came to Belur Math for a festival celebrating the Master's birthday. The entrance gate was decorated with flowers and leaves, and over the top there was a banner inscribed, "Welcome." The mother's carriage reached the courtyard, which was a little muddy. So Brahmananda had asked the monks to spread a red cloth for her. When Holy Mother got down from the carriage, Swami Brahmananda prostrated fully at her feet, and Swami Atmananda waved a camphor flame before her. The mother went upstairs to the shrine, bowed down to the master, and meditated for a while. She then walked over the roof and went to the western upper room of the Mat building, which was reserved for her. The mother and her companions watched the master's festival through the window and listened to Kali Kirtan sung by devotees from Andul. The group sang, "O mind, why are you in this world anymore? Let us go to that divine city." The group sang, "O mind, why are you in this world anymore? Let us go to that divine city." Swami Brahmananda danced during the kirtan and lost outer consciousness in ecstasy. Swami Saradananda directed that he be taken to the lower southwest room of the Mat building. There he sat motionless on a cot for a long time. He was offered refreshments and tobacco, but his samadhi continued unbroken. Premananda and Saradananda were extremely concerned. Finally, Holy Mother was informed. She came downstairs, touched Brahmananda's arm, and said, "Rakal, here is prasad. Please eat." Immediately the Swami regained his consciousness and became normal. He bowed down to the mother and joyously ate the prasad that she offered him. This is just another tiny little example of their special relationship. Holy Mother's disciple, Swami Mukteswarananda, is that right?
Yes, yes.
Mukteswarananda. Holy Mother's disciple, Swami Mukteswarananda, mentioned the following incident, which probably took place in 1915 during the Master's birthday celebration at Belramat. When the Master's worship and food offering were over, Swami Arupananda called Brahmachari Ishwar, Swami Mukteswarananda, to serve food to the mother and her woman companions. They sat facing east on the eastern upper veranda of the Mat building. Ishwar carried the plate of food that had been offered to the master and placed it in front of Holy Mother. She took some food from it and began to eat, then asked Ishwar to distribute what remained to the others. After the meal, Ishwar poured water on the mother's hands for washing, and when he was about to wash her feet with Ganges water, she stopped him and asked him to sprinkle the Ganges water on her head first. At that time, there was no filtered tap water in Belramat. Ishwar told her that in the monastery, everyone used the Ganges water for everything, even in the bathroom for washing. The mother said, "My child, it is holy Ganges water. One should respect to it by sprinkling on the head first and then using it for other purposes." After lunch, the mother and her companions sat in Swami Shivananda's room facing the western courtyard and listened to Kali Kirtan through the window. Ishwar carried a plate of betel rolls for her. She took one without saying a single word. Observing the mother's stern look, Ishwar realized that the mother disapproved of his coming into a room where there were so many women. She was very strict with the young monks about their association with women. She listened to the kirtan for some time and then returned to Udbodhan house in the afternoon. It was only the direct disciples of the master that really, and some few others that had the freedom to come and go with mother and her companions. So it's 9:02. We're about to start another subhead, Bellarmat through the eyes of Holy Mother. So we'll leave it off there. Is there anything that anyone would like to contribute? A comment, a question? Anything at all? We've heard so much rich material about the mother's relationship with Bellarmat and the founding of Bellarmat, how she was regarded there as the mother of the universe. All right. We'll just leave it at that then. And given that there's so much disturbance in the Force, as they say in the Star Wars movies, so much tension and anxiety in the collective unconscious, we'll finish with this lovely translation of this ancient prayer for peace. Let there be peace in outer space. Let there be peace in the sky, on the earth, and in the waters. Let there be peace in the herbs, the plants, and the trees. May the gods be peaceful. May the whole universe be pervaded by peace. Let this infinite universal peace prevail throughout my being. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So let's hold that lovely thought of peace. Peace, peace, peace. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be cheerful. May you have peace of mind. And may you go forward in Mother's loving and protective embrace. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Tomorrow night, of course, tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we'll study Swami Vivekananda's Jnana Yoga. We're on chapter 4 of Jnana Yoga. And Swamiji is really rolling along. It's really quite remarkable how, what a stirring truth teller he is. So good night, beloved ones, until the next time we meet. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.